We're starting here. This has you in Southern Europe, and there's some kind of death that affects you early on. Wow. Some kind of death affects you early on. Somebody has mental illness, and I think there was they exited stage left a little early, and it affected you. Yeah, they tapped out and left you, and you had to grow up really quick. I don't get that you're coming through as a female. Coming through as a dude. This is your mom. This is your dad. Here's you as a kid. You've got the mom, older sister, and your dad tapped out early. There was something that was caused him mental grief to an extreme. I don't think this is something that people should ever judge harshly on, because that's such a radical choice to take. But that feels like that's what was taken, and that was the gift, because it I wouldn't say that it's a blessing in disguise, but it's the gift that created a different kind of energy within your mom and your sister. They became more fierce, more independent, more strong, and that helped create who you are. You were late, baby. Like, I think your parents thought they would have your sister. Your sister would probably have been in her teens when you arrived on the scene. Don't know what that's about. Don't know why. What's going on with here? This is your teens and independence. Let me shift back in here for a minute. This is the baby boy that is the mother's delight, always bringing animals home, always loving animals. This is something huge for you. You would be caught up in the animal world and in talking with animals and having them be friends, because your older sibling was so much older than you, and there weren't more siblings to come. You knew how to broker deals. You've got the peacemaker here. Brokering deals is something you do, but I'm getting shades of warrior too now. How is this possible? Because you were a defender. You were literally like the knights. You were literally the one who would defend. You would protect your mom and your sister, of course. You were the defender. You would travel a lot. You would take care of the horses, the animals, but also broker deals. What else was going on with this? I'm trying to get if you fought in wars. I'm not sure if you did or not. But there's something about this warrior energy coming through you. Maybe it's just the archetype. Let's see. You were the diplomat. You weren't the fighter in the wars. You were the diplomat. You were the one that talked to the king. You were the one that was the king's partner. You were the one that would say, okay, these are your choices you have. You can make different choices. Now, the Lover's card is coming through with choices, but this isn't about a lover for you. This is in association with advising different people that were landowners. So you would give advice on this. You would be diplomatic to people and broker deals. You would get them out of situations before they got conned. There were some people that were power hungry with this devil. Power hungry people trying to rule and almost conquer that wasn't theirs. Like, I don't know if I would say colonize, but take over land that wasn't theirs to take over, and that hadn't been in their family for years and years and generations. And you would go and try and protect as many as you could to help them keep their land. You stood for valor. You stood on the high ground, and you would travel to do this. You had an idea and an understanding of what was going on. Just because your dad tapped early, it didn't break your mother's side of the family or your sister. And I don't think they were outrageously wealthy. I'm not sure on that. We're going to check. I want to know more on this. Just so we have a little bit of a more clear understanding of it. It's like you traveled, it would seem like far and wide, but I don't know what far and wide would be then. And I'm not getting England, but I am getting more like Is it the Ottoman Empire? Maybe, maybe. I've been checking that. It seems like that's right. People were trying to take things left, right, and sideways. Smoke and mirrors everywhere. There were several fiefdoms and kingdoms, and once a sword was plunged in, then it was their way, and people had to either adapt or move. There were 7 different principalities that you took care of, and it brought you huge joy. Now, this is a card of 8, and this is a card of 9, but I'm getting 7. So when you're reading tarot and reading past lives, sometimes the tarot meaning just goes... The intuition says there were 7 kingdoms, there were 7 places in specific, and then there was the one that was your homeland. It feels more like 8. That was what it was all about. If you include your homeland. But others were 7 others. Like maybe Ottoman Empire, feudal structures and lands. Is this? Yes. People were stressed, high stress, worried, didn't know what to do. You would know how to handle this. You would know how to broker deals with people that were trying to take over. Let's look a little bit more about that. Again, literally like the knight in shining armor, but you would come with messages and broker deals more than anything else. You would come with offers of money, offers of balancing. This is what this is worth. This is how you always did. You would travel a lot and broker these deals. Now this one, this Mr. Fancy Pants, it would be like if you had, I don't know, clans, tribes, chieftains, whatever. They're all meeting up. But this one, the main big baddie would listen to what you were going to say. And the main big baddie in each group would hear you. You were logical and calm in a way that was instantly understood. Your presence calmed. It brought soothing energy there. Maybe you had to be serious by nature as a kid early on, and because you were good with understanding how animals were, you learned to read body language and the nature of body language. Things like fear or apprehension, when people can read that a little bit quickly with animals, they usually can read it in people as well. What's going on here? This is out of time. This is out of time. Not that the time's up, but there's somebody that's out of time that crosses your path. This is an older woman. This is an older woman who knew your father. Now, how did she know him? What's that connection about?
Considering this life, I don't feel listened to. This is interesting.
Yeah. You knew how to do this. Maybe you don't like the hassle that's coming. This woman is out of time. This is somebody that knew your father. This is somebody so polar opposite of what your mother is and what your sister is. It has me questioning whether she was perhaps a mistress, a lover, or perhaps a whole other wife from the Raphaelite. This is this is another woman and another child. It's not like that he married them and had a whole separate life, but this is definitely mistress and child of another family. This is part of what put the pressure on the dad. It's part of the reason that he tapped early. Wow, they had a difficult time. You could see and understand how difficult it might have been. They were really, like, your mom and your sister were in a fortunate position financially, and the fortunately aspect that these people weren't so much. I don't think you told your mother and sister about this particular person in the travels at all. I think it would have broke her heart and created more chaos. I think you kept that to yourself. But you knew. There were resemblances. There were physical resemblances that you could see in your half-sibling. Your sister here favors your father. The half sibling is a girl who also favors your father. So yeah, he definitely had this going on. And you come as the knight for them too. I think you try and look out for them in the ways that you can. I don't think you condemned them at all. I don't think you gave up their anonymity, because I don't think it was something that was desired. I don't think she wanted to be at odds or even involved. And I think you kept that completely separate compartments. Wild. Anything else on this? This other sibling feels like slightly younger than you, slightly feeling like ripped off, like they got the bad end of the stick. Feels like a little bit immature, where this one, they got a whole nother bad end of the stick. One tragedy doesn't outrank another one. It's felt tragically for all aspects, but this one feels like they got ripped off because they knew they weren't legitimate, so to speak. And so they feel like they got ripped off. They did have a much harder time financially, but this one is angrier, believe it or not. What was this? What was this? What was this? What was this? This one is angrier because this one had been told that your dad, this part of the family, had money, and they knew that they weren't the one that would claim to it, and they had these visions of what we might consider an easy street over here, which it wasn't, but really mad, really mad, felt let down by that. I don't think they understood. I think it was your mother that held the lands, that held the more financial aspect of things, of power. I think it was seen by her that your father had power, and obviously a kid comes from this, but there's just such there's anger and big sad and immaturity and really stubbornly stuck in being right about condemning all of this when you've lived through all the hardship from early on. And it's like you don't really blame the person, but I don't know if that person ever grows the fuck up out of their own pity party or not. Okay, we're asking about you. 1 second. Anything else? Eventually, this person does grow up. I thought I was done with her, but I was not. Eventually, this person does grow up a little bit, grow more mature, a little bit wiser. It takes till about late 20-ish, after 25, for this person to finally finish being pissed in the way that she can move forward. Yeah. And still she has trouble and focuses on her survival being so difficult and things of the past and how somebody in a different land had the better goodies. Will you show them this? This one's just focused on what is the sorrow rather than what she actually has acquired. I think you're compassionate for her. I think your diplomacy is compassionate for her, but I think it gets tiresome to you. You haven't blown this life out of balance or blown their world out of balance. You've been diplomatic in once discovering, doing all you can to help that one, help this scenario in whatever way. But I think you get sick of the bitching. It feels like there's a shift on something. What's up with that? I think you do get sick of the bitching and you feel like forever responsible there. So it's like you might call people out a little bit more in this life because of not being able to change what was there and guilt that was in this other life. You might call people out and be a little bit less than patient with people on their pity party. So You might be a little more confrontational in this life and less diplomatic because this was a lot to carry. Yeah. Yeah, your communication is sometimes harsh. You see and observe things differently than others. And sometimes your communication isn't the best in this particular one. You just got tired of carrying all the emotional baggage from everyone around you. Towards the end, you were very true to yourself. Towards the end, this sister has a child and finally grows the fuck up. Has a very, very selfish husband, understands her own mother better. These ones didn't teach you the trickiest lessons, the ones that are carrying over into this life. The setup, perhaps, but these ones are the ones that gave you the trickier lessons that were like next level lessons, you know. You learned the easy stuff in some situations, and then in other situations you learn more difficult ones. You had to learn more about unconditional love and carrying a heavy burden. And in some part, having to pay for what your father's choices were landed on you. Yeah. Yeah. It landed on you. And it's like you're not ready to be paying for some other narcissistic type person's choices in this life. You did it here for this, for them, and to keep this pristine for them. So this is what karma is saying. What else? Anything else? What about your own family? Did you get married? Did you have kids? Were you just like fucking fed up? You didn't have a family. You were player here. You had the skill, the ability. You knew the moves. It's not that you were uncomfortable in the idea of couplehood, but you knew how to play the game, is what I'm getting. You were more of a player, or had relationships that might be serious, but you didn't invest so seriously. Too much, too heavy too soon. Too much, too heavy later on. And you would have rather been solo or surfacey in your relationships in this particular lifetime here. It might make you long for deeper relationships in this one, because it's like, when do I get to pass go? Yeah. Here you are here. Here you are here. What's come through? It's time to pass go. Wheel of Fortune. I call this like when you dial in the last number on the safe, the Wheel of Fortune. The divine timing understands why this heaviness was on you there and why it overlaps now. If your communication skills are shitty because you're calling a spade, a truth, you can work on your diplomacy, and you know how to do that nicely. You don't have to sugarcoat shit. You know how to do it nicely. You don't have to argue to hold your ground. You're not meant to be forever on your own. You're meant to be able to have joy a little bit more fully in this particular life. You did so much care and nurturing for others in both aspects of this past life. It's like you paid your dues, honey. That's what I got. That's complete. Yeah. The time is, if you want the fresh start, you could have that in this life.
She had put, yeah, LOL, and earlier she had put, there's only so much bitching you can take.
Yeah. This one was like, yeah. That's exactly what you would have told this one. Like, all right, wham. I don't know how you would have said it then, but yeah, that's what I'm getting for you.
Okay.
Wild. The past lives are always so fascinating. And often, you know, they're often there's overlap. Sometimes there's direct overlap. Sometimes it's like, yeah, because of this one, I do it totally different now. And other times it's because of this one, I do it exactly like that now. I don't know. Get up, way, read the cards. That's what I do. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Okie doke.
You need to switch out this card
She
trick.
said, yeah, can see some.
Yeah.
And she said, thank you, Angie. Interesting.
Yeah, you are welcome. You're welcome.